to Down Your Unders. Down Your Unders. Review and dissection of content from some of the sharpest minds in the game. Hosted by Adam Camilleri. Art of War. Down Under.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode 199, the penultimate episode to episode 200. And yes, I'm jumping over my words. I've been very sick lately, and this is coming out later than you would expect. That is why. I'm joined by the illustrious and wonderful Terracon champion, Matt Morosoli, amongst other titles. Hello, mate.
G'day, mate. I'm also very under the weather. It turns out that sharing a car back with 5 dudes when one of them has contracted country super virus spreads to all of you, and then all 5 of you spend the next week in bed. So yes. What a time to be alive, or barely alive.
Matt and my lovely self chaperoned 3 Kiwi gentlemen, good mates of ours, to Narracourt to play in a 110-ish player event over there. Great time. Shout out to all the Terracon lads. You guys are amazing. Had a great run. Enjoyed the event thoroughly. But yeah, the crud afterwards has absolutely floored us. And in lieu of getting our episodes out at the usual time, we're recording it literally when we felt healthy enough to do so. This is going to be your Pariah Nexus mission pack review. We're going to do the whole thing holistically, cover to cover, giving you everything you need to know, all the ins and outs, all the changes, and everything else in between. And of course, our thoughts along the way. This is a pretty interesting pack. But before we get into that, join us over on part 2. We're going to be answering those patron questions about this here mission structure, what has changed, what people like and don't like about it, who the biggest winners and losers are, just based off this. And yeah, don't go anywhere. There is a ridiculous amount of content coming. I got sick at the worst time. I wanted to do like 3 episodes this week to just get ahead of the deluge that is coming with, you know, I've still got a Sisters Codex to review. We know we've got data slate and points and whatever else G-Dub has up their sleeve. So don't go anywhere. There's going to be a lot to enjoy here. But Matt, my man, I know you've plugged it ad nauseum, but if you would like to plug your wares one more time, feel free.
Look, I feel like this works when you have me on once every 6 months, but not when I'm on 3 times in the span of 2 months. But I do a bit of coaching at the Art of War. You find me at the AOWdu40k.com, in the Art of War 40k Discord. And you can also follow some stuff that we do at Team Australia 40k on Facebook. Those are the places to go. I'd say click the links, but there aren't any links. So use your brain and your fingers and your phone touch screen and make the thing happen.
Yeah, make it happen. All right, jumping in. We don't know how long our voices are going to last, so we're just going to send this one. And I do apologize if there's a little less of, meat on the bone if we're just giving you the cut and dry, but we'll see how we go. My voice is at a beautiful gravelly baritone right now, and hopefully you appreciate it. But into the opening stanza of this new here mission deck, we have the Pariah Nexus battles that tells us how to run a game. Not a lot of this has changed, but the stuff that has is quite poignant. And we come to the first bit of it being in the fact that new orders, which previously was a once per game stratagem you could use to recycle one of your cards after you've drawn it. So, you draw your cards, don't like that one. Don't like capture enemy outpost on turn 2 when I have no chance of getting it. 1 CP, cycle it away. So much the better. This is now can be used every single turn. How do you feel about this change, mate?
I think it's all right. And I think when you see the cards we've got coming up, they've actually caveated in a lot of these that if you can't score these cards anymore, you just get to discard them. Or chuck them back into your deck. So really, I think this is fine. It stops you from really getting hard drawn with the worst cards in the deck over and over and over again. And look, it costs you a CP. I have no issue with this, right? Spend as much CP as you want redrawing cards,
Yeah, I feel like this is actually unnecessary because of the changes that they've made to the actual secondary cards, like you've denoted, because they've made them so much more judicious in that if you physically can't score them, you can cycle them a lot of the time. This was kind of unnecessary. But the fact that they've done both, so much the better. It just means that I feel like it might get a little too easy. I did kind of like how hard it was at times, scoring cards. Like if you drew Investigate Signals and then a dead draw, and you're like, well, I guess I just got to go get a couple of points on Investigate Signals and make some hard choices. Whereas now I feel like you can pick 2 cards, and if one is doable but hard, you just kind of don't care and you just ditch it. So we might see a lot higher secondary scores, as in people just like getting very close to maxing all the time.
They've also taken a lot of the incentive away for playing tactical, right? Like a lot of the cards that you score more points if you're playing tac don't anymore. So this is good to give something back to tactical when other people might be playing fixed. I think this is overall pretty balanced in the ecosystem of everything that's released in this pack.
On these first couple of cards, you notice anything else that's changed, like declare battle formations, anything deploying or reserve restrictions, anything like that? I do know that they have now, I believe, at the step 10 in the redeploy units, they have enshrined that redeploys happen before the first turn roll, which there was some worded some way, some worded another way. And I'm not sure what's going to take precedence in this new pack, but I mean, it's good that they've delineated it, I guess.
Yeah, it does say unless otherwise stated. So I assume the ones that currently state before the first term begins, but after the roll or whatever, will still work that way. But no, pretty much the entire pre-battle, step by step through from, getting your army, determining the mission, setting everything up, choosing your secondaries being fixed or tactical, and then all the way through to starting the game is all pretty much identical. It's all pretty much the same.
Even the scoring is the same, max 50 VP for primary and or secret missions, which we'll talk about in a second. Secondaries can score you 40 VP, caveat being, they score 20 points per fixed, and of course 10 for battle ready. Secret missions, my man. Gambits. Did you ever do a single gambit?
I did once, but it was more for a joke than because I actually wanted to gambit. So I gambited once. I was already very, very well ahead. It didn't matter if the gambit went off or not, and the gambit did not go off, but it didn't matter. But I did it once for the entire edition.
So now we have secret missions. Give us the TLDR. How does this work?
Yeah, so these are essentially the new gambits. They are a very interesting part of the new mission pack, and this is probably going to be the most polarizing part of the new mission pack. I actually personally, I'm not a huge fan, but I think some people will like them. So the way that these work, at the end of the third battle round, starting with the player who had the second turn, if your primary mission VP total is less than or equal to your opponent, you can choose to undertake a secret mission. You pick one of the missions from your secret mission decks. There's no more randomizing and removing one or anything like that. You pick one straight up. Then you can no longer score more than 20 points from the primary mission card. Any excess from this is discarded. And if you complete your secret mission at the end of the game, you score the VP for the secret mission. Now, they're all worth 20. The really big key things to note here are that you can take your secret mission on turn 3 and continue to score primary. You just cap out at 20 on the mission primary. This means you can sit there and score 5s every turn of the game and get your secret mission and get a 40-point primary.
Correct.
We'll go through the cards when we get to the specific secret missions, but essentially this caps your primary at 40 if you choose to do this. I'm really not a very big fan. Some of these are very easy to achieve if you're going second. Yeah. They're much worse if you're going first, admittedly. Like if you're going first, they're much harder to do. But I actually already think there is a meta brewing where if you're going second, you intentionally don't score primary on turn 2 just so you can take a secret mission and then get 40. And I don't like that. I think that's a bit exploitable, and I really think they should have kept the you can't score any more primary from this point onwards if you're going to undertake one of these secret missions.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that this would have worked if the missions were harder. That were much harder to do. Do you pick your secret objective, or do you rip it off the top of a deck? Do you random?
Nope, you select one card from your secret mission deck.
And that was me just playing playing layman for people who may not know at home, because they may just be thinking, oh, but it's random. It's not. You get to choose it, and you just get to pick it, and you can play matchups where you just like, well, I'm in a red matchup here, but I've got this really stupidly easy to do, just kill their warlord or whatever. I can't remember which one it is. And bang, bada bing, bada boom. I don't need to show them. I don't need to tell them. They need to try and play around what could be 4 or 5 different things while I'm sitting here getting 5s, trying not to, get tabled. And then bada bing, bada boom, they lose by 10 points instead of the 40 or 50 they may have otherwise. Oh, sorry, it would be 30 otherwise. But yeah, I find these a little bit too easy. So maybe they've gone the other way, because gambits were ridiculous and no one did them. I think I've heard of 2 games ever that were decided by a gambit. As in, the gambit went off and won somebody the game. I think I've heard that twice in all of 10th edition so far, and this might be too far in the other direction. Where why should I bother trying to play the game where I can literally play bus stop, sit on 2 objectives, and just play this one card and mitigate all my opponent's hard work. We'll see what that comes out. But that's a little bit naysay. But that's kind of my opinion so far.
Yeah,
right.
Really it just buffs going second, right? Because go second, you get to achieve your secret mission, not your gambit. You get to achieve your secret mission. Your opponent can't do anything about it. If you go first and you put my warlord on my opponent's objective, right, and you stick your dude over there, your opponent has a whole turn to kill him. But if you go second, they don't, and that's pretty problematic. As far as I'm concerned, I don't like that at all.
Fair. And we may very well see, things like autark way leapers who can jump up and get down and scoot huge amounts of inches and all these things, sitting in transports. Yeah, Magnus, triple moving Magnus, stuff like that. Sitting in, or, small, very quick characters who can move, shoot, move, or something like that, sitting in transports on turn 4, and your opponent's like, crap. All right. Actions is the next big change. So I'll just read this one out verbatim because it is quite different. Because, we had actions in all but name in the previous mission pack. We all called them actions, deploy teleport homers and investigate signals and all these things. They were actions, but they just didn't decide to call them actions. But they're called actions again. Yay. Some cards feature actions that certain units can perform. Each action states which unit can perform it, when it is started and completed, and when it affects and what it affects and what it does for you. A unit cannot start to perform an action if one or more of the following apply to that unit. It's an aircraft. It's battle shocked. It has an objective control characteristic of 0. It is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, unless it's a Titanic character. It advances or falls back, and is not eligible to shoot this phase, including units that have already been selected to shoot this phase. If a unit starts to perform an action until the end of the turn, that unit is not eligible to shoot or declare a charge, unless it's a Titanic character unit, in which case, till the end of the turn, that unit cannot start to perform another action and is not eligible to declare a charge. If a unit performing an action makes a move, excluding pile and consolidation move, or moves the battlefield for any reason, that action cannot be completed. First and foremost, it's big that they're letting Titanic characters do actions and still act. That's really good, because it felt so bad having Canis Rex be like, oh my god, do I need 2 homers or kill my opponent with my Canis Rex? I can't do both. Well, now you can do both, and that feels a lot better for those things. I wish it was Titanic in general, because, wow, Baneblades. I wish. But, mate, how do you feel about these actions? I mean, the big ones being OC0 means that all the Nurglings, all the swarms and scarabs and nonsense that we used to, stack in our armies to do these things, and also no advances or fallbacks.
Yeah, so this is really good. I think this change is great, just because it is completely consistent for every single action in the game. There's no more weird rules about what can and can't do things. It's like, battle shocked units can get behind enemy lines, but they can't get engaged. Like now, it's just like, now everything is super clear. So I really like that. I really wish, sure, Titanic characters can shoot in action. I'm going to cry in Night Rampager here. Like, or that guy gets to shoot his 3-shot stuff.
Woo!
Hot. But this is really good, man. I think this is really, really consistent, and that's really important. And you're right; it's going to change list construction. It kills a lot of the random idiot units. I don't know if I love the OC0 units can't do stuff, because it just makes Nurglings and Ripper Swarms and Scarabs just makes them useless. Like, what is the point? I guess Nurglings are your scout screen or your infiltrate screen, but not all armies have access to super cheap action doers.
Correct.
Right? This hurts some armies more than it hurts others. But at the end of the day, I think that this is a pretty net positive change.
Everyone, hold up a drink and pour one out for the Biovore and the Spore Mine. Not going to be missed. Not going to be missed. See you in hell. I hope Tyranny players get something else to enjoy, though, because it was a hell of a crutch. And they had every right to ride that wave with the state of the codex. All right, we are into the deployments, and many of these are what you would expect, so we're not going to explain the ones that are what you expect. We have Hammer and Anvil. We have Search and Destroy, very much exactly the same. Crucible Battle, exactly the same as far as I can tell. Maybe some of these have had the delineation of the objectives moved, but trying to explain those on a podcast is not something I'm willing to put people through. Dawn of War still exists. Sweeping engagement has changed. Turns out someone at GW just does not like diagonal angles. They're just like, let's make little cliffs instead. How would you go about explaining this to people? Because we played this on the weekend.
All right, so this is Dawn of War, except halfway through your deployment zone, you're going to take 2 inches and push it up on the left and down on the right.
Correct. That's perfectly said. So you have a little cliff. Your cliff where you're closer to your opponent is the one where they're further away, and vice versa. It's a bit of actually, we should call this the yin and yang deployment. We should just call this yin and yang. Done.
Sure.
It's the yin yang deployment.
Yeah.
Where it's like the never mind. A steampunk yin and yang.
You know what it looks like, Adam? It looks like the Pokemon Missing No from Red and Blue. That's what it looks like. A weird sideways thing. If anyone gets that reference, you're as old as I am now. You know
Get your prostate checked.
That's it.
Yeah, look out for arthritis. And make sure you take your vitamins. All right. Tipping Point is exactly the same premise, but on Hammer and Anvil deployment rather than Dawn of War deployment, so on Short Edge. So, and that is it. So we've got 2 new deployments, essentially, although they're kind of the same as Dawn of War and Hammer and Anvil, just with a little bit of spice. Not sure how much it's going to matter because they're just going to turn into regular Dawn of War and Hammer and Anvil immediately. So, yeah.
The key difference, though, is the objective placement, right? It means that you're not playing with symmetrical objectives if you are playing in Dawn of War or Hammer and Anvil because they're kind of offset. So that's probably the most interesting thing. I hate the Dawn of War one, but I actually don't mind the Hammer and Anvil one.
I don't mind the Hammer and Anvil one either because, but you are correct. I really do not like the sweeping engagement one. Essentially the reason I don't like it is because the how close the corners are to each other of the 2 forwardmost cliff bits, where you're 14 and 14 up on. I'm 14 up on my side. My opponent's 14 up on their side.
Yeah.
And you have these 2 corners that, what are they? They're 18 inches away from each other?
No, they're 12, dude, because if they're 14 up, 28, 40,
correct.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm sick. My brain not good.
You're good. But you also start very close to your opponent's home objective, because if you look at where that home objective is, right? Correct. That's essentially on 6 inches. You're basically 18 inches from your opponent's home objective if you deploy there. A lot of armies can go first. Playing World Eaters on this is going to be horrific. Just watch 6 Exalted 8-bound scout move, and then they're on your home objective.
There's nothing you can do about it.
And there's probably nowhere you can hide in your deployment zone from that. It's not great.
I have major issues with that deployment, major issues. And I feel like everyone who is lamenting so many rounds and turns and events spent in jail because somebody just has an army that does that to you, sweeping engagement is going to exacerbate that. It's going to make it 11 out of 10. All right, into the mission rules, the first of which is Adapt or Die. And naturally, when these are the same as we have already seen, we're going to skip over them, but we will explain what their contemporary was. So Adapt or Die, this is for players using fixed objectives, is the first caveat here. Once per battle, at the end of that player's turn after scoring VP, they can discard one of the secondary mission cards and replace it with another secondary mission card that has the fixed symbol. So smash out your fixed. If you're not happy, rotate it out. And then twice per battle, if you're playing tactical, after drawing a secondary mission card, that player can draw another secondary mission card, then shuffle one of those in. So it's just pretty much extra cycle, bit of extra flexibility. Not a bad one.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb for fixed missions, to be honest, man.
Oh yeah, I don't like.
You take Bring It Down, you kill a few of your opponent's units, you get half your Bring It Down points. The other ones are hiding. You're sick, cool. Well. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to have teleport homers for the last couple of turns and score those points. I feel like it should not have had any fixed. It should not have anything for fixed in there. Fixed is already fixed. Pick good or pick bad. You don't get to have a get out of jail card. And honestly, the tactical one is nowhere near the level of power that the fixed one is. Nowhere near. Yeah, correct. To be fair, it does let you shuffle the card back into your deck, which is interesting. So if you're going to want, let's just say, something like, you're going to want Bring It Down later in the game, you can put it back in there and shuffle it, but you don't have to lose the card. So that's interesting.
Yep. So you got stuff. Sorry, you got stuff in reserve, and you pull behind enemy lines on turn 1.
Yeah.
Shuffle back in. You're gonna have a chance to get it later. That's a great point, mate.
So we've got hidden supplies next. It's exactly the same. This is the pull a new objective in the middle and push them towards the center. So that one's no different.
I think it's a fine mission. Yeah, hidden supplies.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one to have in the deck.
Fog of War.
Yeah, so I think this will be the new Chilling Reign. I'd imagine.
Me too.
I think this
Me
is kind
too.
of like the new generic one. So in the first battle round, units have the benefit of cover, and you cannot use core stratagems excluding new orders. So this just gives everything on the battlefield cover in the first turn, and you can't use your CP rerolls, your heroics, your grenades, your tank shocks, those sort of things.
Yeah,
But
I think it's fine.
fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine, and it's very likely to be the default, like you said. Inspired Leadership is up next. Whilst a player's warlord is not within a deployment zone, each time a unit from that player's army takes a battle shock test, if that player's warlord is within 9 and visible to it, add 1 to the test. That is also a very good default because it's garbage, and who cares? Moving on.
Yeah, then we've got prepared positions. So people can target, players, not people, can target their battle line units with the go to ground and heroic intervention strats for 0 CP, but cannot do so if they've already used this somewhere else that turn. This one is cool. I really like this mission.
Me too. I think it's pretty good and well thought out. I'm happy that they're adding it in. This is the first of a few things that they've done to incentivize battle line units. Because for the longest time, battle line, if someone said their unit's battle line, I just think it means they're OC2. That's it. That's the only thing that I assume that they are. Battle line delineated no other inherent advantages. In fact, most of their disadvantages. Your battle line units were usually the worst units in your book. So
yeah,
happy to give them, see if they get more. But we'll see after we've got the full run-off and full picture whether we think it's done enough to incentivize these things.
I cannot wait to rip a 0 CP heroic with the Night Carnivore, mate. I cannot wait.
That is true. See, this is problematic. What they're doing is problematic. Whereas me and my 5 intercessors, we're going to F you right up with our heroic intervention.
Hey. It depends on if they're Blood Angels intercessors, because Blood Angels intercessors, as we know, go very hard.
Assault intercessors with the captain with 0 heroic intervention is kind of scary.
Yikes. Yeah. That's a bit spooky.
Raised Banners is up next. The Return of the King, some would say, because it was kind of never mind. If you played long enough, you know the tale of Raised Banners. At the end of each player's turn, if a battle line unit from their army is within range of an objective marker that player controls, that unit raises a banner on that objective marker. That player scores 1 victory point, which is counted towards their secondary missions, and that player's units can no longer raise a banner on that objective. So 1 VP for every battle line unit that raises that kind of controls an objective marker, and they plan a banner on it. This is another good use of battle line units. This is another little bit of incentives, and I think should we get enough tournament packs that have raise banners as one of the the stanza missions that they're just we're going to be playing this one, we will see people have to take a unit of battle line because they won't want to not have just like a banner on their home objective immediately and then try and get another one, right?
Yeah, and look, man, the thing is, you could take 1 unit and then still do this on 2 or maybe 3 objectives, right? Like, it's not like you're going to start taking 6 units of Space Marines just because you want to play Raise Banners and get 4 extra VP, right? Like, if your opponent gets 3 and you get 2, it's not going to determine the game most of the time.
But this is the one where this already benefits armies that inherently want to play with their battle line units. And the 3 that I can think of is T-Sun's Death Guard and Chaos Knights, where their army is like the baseline best bits of their army is getting the most out of units that have the battle line keyword already. So they're just, they weren't the rich, but they got a little bit richer.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think it's a perfectly good mission, right? Just
me too.
Add another minor scoring metric to armies, and it incentivizes you to push your stuff out around the table. So I don't mind this at all. Then we've got Rapid Escalation. So in the first battle round, each player can set up a battle line unit from Strat Reserve in the reinforcement step of their movement phase. It's going to be wholly within 6 of any battlefield edge. It cannot be in the enemy deployment zone, and it cannot exceed 10% of the total points of your army. So you get a single battle line unit that can come in from Strat Reserve on turn 1 up to 200 points in a Strike Force game. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't really know what it does, honestly.
Me either. Although the idea of just chucking a Carnivore on someone's flank and just, I don't know, YOLOing a 9 from relative safety feels not awful on top of turn 1.
Yeah, I actually think this is probably better. Like, it's probably really good in T-Suns if you can put like the lone op sorcerer in a unit. And then that unit's more than 200 points though, because the Sork is 95 and rubrics are 110. No, 105. So it fits. It fits with no enhancement. There you go.
There you go. Cracked. We cracked.
Obviously, excluding any points changes that we don't know about yet, it does fit.
So this is Battleline units. So you could bring along an adjoined character with this unit, yeah?
I have 5 legionaries and a chaos lord, mate.
Yeah, boy. Let's go. I mean, but if you had a good charge from reserve mechanic, maybe there's something brewing with this one.
For sure. To be fair, you could bring on like a unit of Orc Boys with the +1 to charge on the first turn with reroll charges. I guess that's something. Again, it's not great, but it does help you get up the board. There's probably some mechanisms to kind of use this and get some sort of value out of it.
All right, Smoke and Mirrors. After both players have deployed their armies, starting with the attacker, each player can place 1 unit from their army that is on the battlefield in Strat Reserve, regardless of how many units are already in Strat Reserve. The points of such units can exceed 25% of the player's total points, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. So 500 points for Strike Force for our 2,000 points. So pretty much it's just a pseudo little baby redeploy, but only into Strat Reserve. I don't think this is amazing, but there might be a niche case out there where it comes up nice.
Yeah, I actually, this is one that's a little bit more interesting than the previous one. I think there's a lot of the time where you can like put an aggressive unit on the front line of your deployment zone, make your opponent respect the fact that you can just go first, and then just say, into Strat Reserve. Like I'm thinking like 6 Exalted 8-bound, right? You stick them on the deployment line. They've got Deep Strike, so you can put them into Strat Reserve. They can come in via Deep Strike later on. Yep. That seems kind of interesting to me.
That does. When you have that duality, I do think that's pretty good.
Cool. Then we've got Stalwarts. Oh, don't want warts.
Me either. Let alone from Stal.
Yeah, bloody Stal.
Bloody Stal. That's who gave us the crud. It was Stal.
That's it. It must have been. Naracort's famous for its warts. Battleline units that perform an action are still eligible to shoot in that turn. They cannot perform 2 actions, and you can also perform actions while in engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. I'm just going to say this is cranked for Chaos Knights. This is cranked for Brigands. Ripping actions and shooting. Yeah. Very, very good. It's really good for T-Suns as well, shooting and doing stuff when you're actioning. It's great. Pretty good for Death Guard. Pretty good for, almost all the Chaos factions, funnily enough. I guess it's pretty good for Guard too. I guess you're not really having that many battle line units, but being able to go and shoot with some of your infantry units and do stuff is pretty cool. That's good for most of the Imperial factions. I guess Custodes don't mind it either.
Custodes are super happy about this because the worst thing in the world was having a big unit, 5 Custodia Guard having to deploy a teleport homer when they could have easily killed a screen instead. Really good for Custodes as well. Once again, people will start trawling their books to find units worth using this on, which I think is cool. All right, Swift Action. Battle units that advance or fall back are still eligible to perform actions. So they did a full caveat saying you couldn't do these things, then slapped a mission rule in saying that you can. This one is big as well. So we've gotten to this is the last one, and now we have what I think it's 6 of these mission rules directly benefit battle line units. And so everyone is going to need to look into their book very quickly and decide if they have an army. So they are playing a faction where there is a battle line unit worth taking, because I can tell you that this is my biggest issue with what they've done here. The divide between good battle line units and bad battle line units is as vast as any metric could possibly be in our game. We have some of the worst units in the game are battle line, and then for some factions, the best units in their army are battle line, and this delineation, like I said, I feel like is just going to make the armies that are already operating on this metric just that much happier, and everyone else is going to be like, wow, are we getting left behind? Yeah,
look, I think a lot of this is going to come down to primarily GW and WTC now deciding what's in the mission pack, right? Because remember, I'm not sure what episode it was, Adam. You can tell the people in your Patreon or your Discord or whatever it is, when Chris Wright and I came on and we did an episode on mission rules, what we'd like to see changed about the missions, we all said, hey, we don't want to see Chilling Reign in every single mission. And now there's no Chilling Reign at all. But the question is, are we going to see, 9 missions in the pack where there are, all of these rules represented once or twice?
Correct.
Or are we going to see everyone gets cover for the first battle round 8 times, then 2 missions that have these in there, right? So the impact is yet to be seen on how many of these are actually going to get played. But if we have a fairly even mix, it's safe to say that your army is going to want to have some Battleline units.
That's correct. And it might be that, for the first couple of months of the pack, you just decide to go as is, or maybe take like 100, 150 more points of Battleline, and then just see how you work your way into it. But the fact is we have 10 mission rules, and 5 of them are bonuses to Battleline, so full half. So you got to assume 5 in a 5 game GT, 1 or 2 of these is probably going to show up at a minimum.
Yeah, you would think so, right? You'd have to think so.
Yeah, at a minimum. All right, into the primary missions, taking hold, exactly the same as far as I can tell.
Yep.
End of the command phase. Yep. Player whose turn it is scores 5 VP each marker they control up to 15. Good stuff. The ritual's up next, which we're all very sad to see persisted.
So it is almost exactly the same. It is now an action to create the objective markers. And they have to be created 12 inches away from each other instead of 9.
I like this.
Which is good. Very good. Because Adam and I actually played on the ritual last weekend. And we had an objective each in our deployment zone and a big crate in front of it. And we both created 2 objectives on either side of the crate. And that was it.
That was it. We both,
and at least now they're a little bit further away from each other.
We both spawned triangles immediately. For us to control essentially from our deployment zones. So I think it was too judicious before, and I do like the change here. Still don't like the ritual though. It's just annoying.
I do. I actually enjoy the ritual. I think it's fun.
Don't be that guy. That's fine.
I'm sorry for having fun, mate. Oh, geez.
Right. Unexploded ordnance, I believe, is servo skulls.
Yeah.
Has it changed?
I'll be honest, I've played this mission twice in my lifetime, so I don't know if it has changed specifically. So let's have a read, all right? So it's now an action to move hazard. 1 or more units can do it, but if you're doing this, you're not doing another action. That's kind of the key here. Before it used to be if you control it, you could move it. Now you have to do the action in your shooting phase. And if your unit still holds it at the end of the turn, you can then move it, right? So what this does, it means you can no longer move stuff out onto an objective, shoot something, charge something, kill something, and then push the objective. It's a little bit harder just to push the pucks around. Now, is it good? No, it's still a horrific mission.
Mission.
But it's probably a little bit less stupid than it was before because you now can't double move. You can't move them in your opponent's turn. You can't do that sort of thing. It's better than it was, but I will still be very upset if I have to play this at WTC this year.
Me too. Or if I have to stream it. Linchpin, second battle round onwards at the end of the command phase or the end of your turn if it's the 5th battle round and you're going second. If the player whose turn it is does not control the objective marker in their deployment zone, they score 3 VP for each objective marker they control. If the player whose turn it is controls the objective marker in their deployment zone, they score 3 VP for controlling that objective marker and 5 VP for each other objective marker that they control. So second battle onwards, at the end of your command phase, 3 VP for your home, 5 for any other ones, and if you don't control your home, it's just 3 for every other one. Is that correct?
That's right, man. I really like this one. I think this is good mission design.
Good. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Incentivize you to hold your home a little bit. It does enough to do that without changing the whole game. I really like this one.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. Good. I like it. I like the step up, step down, the tempo of it. Scorched Earth up next.
Yeah, so this one is the same again as the previous Scorched Earth. Again, the key difference being the burn objective is now a proper action, so you can't do other stuff and burn the objective. It's burnt at the same time. The scoring is exactly the same. It's still a hold 1, hold 2 for up to 10. It's still burning for 5 VP or 10 if you're its opponents. It's the same otherwise. It's just being clarified so that the actual burn is an action.
Yeah, and I think this actually improves this a little bit. I don't mind Scorched Earth, but I find it's the win more. Like when I'm already winning, Scorched Earth is just letting me get more ahead than I was.
Yeah.
Supply drop up next. At the start of the battle, players randomly select 2 different objective markers, no man's land. This is exactly the same as I can remember. So the 3 objectives in no man's land, one of them is the alpha, one of them is the omega, one gets removed and gets removed, and it's the same scoring as it was. I'm okay with supply drop. I do not hate it, but once again, I find especially now with the extra weighting towards the person going second. I think supply drop plus secret missions might be a problem.
Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this mission. Maybe I'm biased because I lost it at LVO this year because I went first. Maybe that's why I'm not happy, but I don't like this mission.
Pathetic. What's next?
Purge the Foe, and Purge the Foe is exactly the same. It's kill one, kill more, hold one, hold more for 4 points.
You know it, you love it. Burden of Trust is up next. Second battle round onwards. End of the command phase, or end of the turn if you're going second. So end of the game if you're going second. The player whose turn it is scores 4 VP for each objective marker they control. That is not within a deployment zone. For each objective marker that player can control, they can select one unit from their army within range of the objective marker to guard it until the end of the next turn. End of each player's turn, the opponent of the player whose turn it is scores 2 VP for each of their units, excluding battle shock units that have in range of and are guarding objective markers they control. You able to TLDR this for me? Because my brain just shut down there with a bit of goo.
Normal primary, 4 points per objective. When you score your primary, you pick a unit that's holding that objective. If you got multiple, you pick one. That unit guards the objective. Before you score primary again next turn, so after your opponent's turn, if that unit is still there, you get an extra 2 VP.
Nice. I like this one.
Yeah. You couldn't read it a second ago, right?
No, sorry, man. Seriously, I was trying not to cough really hard.
Well, it is a bit wordy, this one.
It is.
I don't mind this one either. It's all right. It's
fine.
Just like it's taken hold with extra steps, right?
Correct. Taking holds with a bit of spice. Terraform is an interesting one.
Terraform. Yeah, so this one here is a fully new mission. So you do an action, so one or more units from your army, each within range of a different objective marker that has not been terraformed and isn't in your deployment zone, completes at the end of your opponent's next turn or at the end of the battle if your unit is still within range of the same objective marker and you still control it. And then those objectives are terraformed. So normal scoring, the player whose turn it is scores VP is the following: up to 15 a turn, 4 VP for each objective marker you control, 2 VP for each objective marker you've terraformed during the battle. So this one is a little bit of a tempo mission here, right? Because you score those VP for terraforming every single turn after you've terraformed. If you terraform on turn 2, you get those 2 VP, for the entire game. Like, you don't have to hold it anymore. You're getting 2 VP for that objective. So this is a tempo mission. This is a Chaos Knight win more mission for sure.
This is a put them in jail and it's over mission, because even if you get tabled, you've terraformed 3 objectives, and who cares? You're going to run away with the scoreboard big time.
That's right. Yeah. So it's definitely don't let your opponent terraform things too early. Go kill the things that are terraforming stuff.
Correct.
Now, it is an action, so it's 1 unit per objective that can do it. You can just go kill those units and disrupt the game plan. But it's a bit spooky if your opponent gets a couple of terraforms off early.
Exactly right. Really spooky. Like, it might just be over. If your opponent gets like 3 terraforms off by the end of turn 2, you're like, do I bother continuing playing? It's kind of cooked. All right. That is the end of the primary missions, and we're moving into the secondary missions. This one is Secure No Man's Land. It's exactly the same as I can tell, but it is 2 points if you control the objective marker in No Man's Land, and you control 2 or more objective markers in No Man's Land for 5. So you can just score. I think it's exactly the same.
Yep.
Although was it 3 previously?
No, I think it was 2-5 before.
Yeah, I think it's 2-5. Yeah.
Right. We've got Containment up next. So this is the new Investigate signal. So this is Containment action. You need to perform an action with 1 or more of your units that are wholly within 9 of a battlefield edge and not within your deployment zone. For each battlefield edge you contain, you score points. So it's 3 VP for each battlefield edge up to 6. This one's pretty easy. You step outside your deployment zone onto 2 different battlefield edges, and you do an action for 3 points each. Pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I think this is far too juicious. It's auto points, man. It's auto points.
This is a long way too, right? Like, you can be wholly in a terrain piece, do it on 9 inches of a board edge. This one's just 3 points.
It's 3 points. Yeah, I don't like this one. This one's too easy. I'm just happily blessed it's not a fixed. Next up is Marked for Death. When drawn, your opponent must select 3 units from their army on the battlefield. If there are only 1 or 2 units, then they're all selected. If there are no units from their army on the battlefield, discard this and draw a new secondary card. And then the end of either player's turn, 1 or more of the selected units were destroyed. 5 VP. I like this one. This one's cool.
Yeah, good. I like this one too.
Yeah,
it's good. It's just, it's secure. Sorry, it's tempting target, but for killing stuff, right?
Yeah, it's tempting target for units.
All right, I've got Defend Stronghold next. It is the same. There is no difference at all to Defend Stronghold. You still put it back in your deck if you draw it on the first turn.
Exactly right. Storm Hostile is still a fixed in the first of our fixed. If it's the first battle round, you can draw a new secondary card and shuffle this back into your deck. At the end of your turn, if you control, second battle round onwards, if you control 1 or more objective markers that were controlled by your opponent, 4 VP. Your opponent doesn't control any objective markers, 4 VP.
Yeah, this one's really good, and I like that you can shuffle it back in. You're not forced to, so you can keep it. If you go second, but your opponent's on 3 objectives in the first turn, you don't have to bin the card anymore. It's really nice.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Engage on all fronts. This is the same. However, you can firstly get rid of it if you have fewer than 3 units left in your army, and secondly, it is only 2 points for the 3 corners of the board. So it's a 2 and 4 now. 2 points for 3 corners, 4 points for all 4, and it is a fixed option as well.
Yep. So a little bit nerfed on Engage on all fronts, and I didn't see it taken as a fixed secondary that much because Teleport Homers was so damn good. Why would you take it when 1 unit can get you the same points as usually what 4 units would have to do, 3 units have to do whatever. But much reduced now, which I still think it's fine. Recover assets is next. If there are fewer than 2 units from your army on the battlefield, you can discard this card, draw another one. It's got recover assets action. It's in your shooting phase. 2 or more units from your army. If each of those units is wholly within a different one of the following areas: your deployment zone, no man's land, and your opponent's deployment zone. It completes at the end of your opponent's next turn or at the end of the battle. You score points as thus: at the end of your opponent's turn or the end of the battle, 2 of your units recover assets for 3 VP, 3 of your units recover assets for 6 VP. This is a fixed. So I hate this one. I think it's trash. I think this is the new Teleport Homers. It's very, very easy.
Is it? I thought that too. When I first read this, I said, well, this is just cracked. But it completes at the end of your opponent's turn. So your opponent has a turn to come and kill you, man. I'm not convinced it's as good as it sounds.
So it's 2 or more units from your army is my issue. So, of course, you can do it in your deployment zone from extreme safety with 1 unit easily. And then you step out 3 units into relative safety, and they all start doing it in no man's land for the 3 points.
If each of these units is wholly within a different one of the following areas. So only 1 unit.
Okay. 1 unit for 1 you can do each section.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I actually think it's good, but not broken. And I actually think it's a good fixed option because I think getting 5 turns of 3 is pretty safe, but your opponent can disrupt it once or twice. But then if you go second, the 6 at the end is pretty free too. Right.
Yeah,
so I this is actually more balanced than it looks at first.
Fair. I do love that it's the end of your opponent's turn. That's the only thing that makes it remotely, not imbalanced. But yeah, because the fact that I get to respond when my opponent takes this feels very good.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is actually it's more balanced than Homer's was for that reason. Cool. Then we've got Behind Enemy Lines. So you can shuffle this into your deck if you pull it on the first turn. It's 1 unit for 3 VP, 2 units for 4. So basically, it's gone down by 1 point on the second unit there.
You kind of wouldn't even like a lot of the time. The things you're getting in Behind Enemy Lines are throwaway units. Like I'm not throwing away 2 units for 1 more. Another 1 more unit for 1 more VP. I'll just chuck down 1 for 3 and move on. But yeah,
I think this is okay too, right? Like it's still fine. I think this actually makes it a better card because I'm definitely more happy to throw away 1 unit.
Correct.
More often than not.
Yeah.
But I'm probably never going to take this fixed, right? Like this is not one that's going to be played as fixed.
I agree. Area Denial is up next. It is reduced in the first caveat. 1 or more units from your army, excluding aircraft that are within 3 of the center of the battlefield and no enemy units within 3 for 2 VP. and one or more units within 3 of the center of the battlefield, no within 6 for 5 VP. It used to be 3 VP for the smaller caveat, or am I tripping?
It did. Yeah, it used to be 3.
Yeah. So that's all that's changed on Area Denial. Still a very good and probably the best turn 1 draw you could get going first.
They've also fixed the wording. Like, the wording on this was ambiguous.
It was so wonky, man.
People used to think you could score 3 points by not being anywhere if your opponent was within 6 but not within 3. At least they've fixed that, and it's very clear how this works now. Cool. Then we've got Assassinate. It is the same. It is 4 VP if you take it as a fixed secondary. It's 5 if you take it tactical, and then you also get the 5 VP for tactical if all your opponent's characters are dead when you draw the card. So no change there at all.
First one we've seen that actually has a different score for fixed versus tactical.
Yep. Yeah,
and that's actually an outlier because just about all the others. I think it's the only one I can remember. We might see another one we come across. Cleanse is up next. It is 2 and 4 points respectively, rather than was it 3 and 5 or was it 2 and 5?
I think it was 3 and 5, man. Yeah,
I think it's 3 and 5.
5 point on both.
It's an action. It's an actual action now. So there's no ifs or buts. I'm cleansing, but now I move. I get off the objective. Like we saw a lot of dumb things happen, like starting it off the objective. So an action, 1 units in range of an objective marker that is not within your deployment zone, does not denote that you have to control the objective. Then you control the objective. Yeah, it completes if you control the objective. So you can start it when you don't control it, kill a unit on it, complete it at the end of your turn, and you have controlled it. So that's a nice little caveat there. And 2 and 4, exactly right. And it's still fixed.
Yeah, and it still doesn't say you can't cleanse 2 objectives with 1 unit, man. So I think correct. You can still do that.
You still do that.
Which is good.
Yep.
Right, we've got Establish Locus next. So this one goes out to the GSC players with their locuses. I see this one in your shooting phase. It is complete. 1 unit from your army does this action at the end of your turn. If that unit is within range of your opponent's deployment zone or is within 6 of the center of the battlefield, you establish a locus. This is the new deploy teleport homers. It is 2 VP if you do it within 6 of the center, and it is 4 VP if you do it in your opponent's deployment zone. The key differences here are that the unit needs to be within 6 of the center, or the unit needs to be within your opponent's deployment zone. So there's no more daisy chaining dudes
correct.
Out. You do have to do it that way. So I think this is fine to stay in the game the way it is. It's fine.
Well, I think it's fine with the fact that so many of the units we used to get this have now been reduced and can't do it. Either they're 0 AC, or they're needing to advance to do it turn 1, or they were getting bombed over by a Biovore. So I think it's fine. We'll see if it still becomes a mainstay. I still think you can build to do this. Like, I think of scouts and things like that, they're still so extremely good at doing this that it might still see play as fixed, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think the biggest nerf right is the 2 points for the center.
Exactly.
Right. You can't get a good fixed score just doing the center for 4 turns.
Correct. You have to play to get 2 in your opponent's deployment zone at a minimum. Yeah. All right, Sabotage is up next. It's an action. It's starts in your shooting phase. 1 unit from your army that is within the terrain feature and not within your deployment zone. At the end of your opponent's next turn, at the end of the battle, what happens? And it finishes, and your unit commits Sabotage. The Beastie Boys do unite. At any battle round, end of your opponent's turn or the end of the battle, whichever one comes first, your unit committed Sabotage this turn and is not within your opponent's deployment zone for 3 VP. You committed Sabotage in your opponent's deployment zone. It is 6 VP. How do you feel about this one? This one feels like a harder teleport homers, but you get the extra VP. But you have to survive through your opponent's turn.
I like it. I like it. I think it's cool. Do an action in a terrain feature, sure. I like it.
It's not fixed, which is good.
It's not fixed. Yeah, it's really good draw on turn 5, right?
Huge draw on turn 5.
Smash 6 points. I like it a lot. Man.
I like it a lot. I like that we're seeing a lot more 2s and a lot more 6s. Everything's not just a 3 or a 5. Or or an 8, the one of 8, because we will tell you that taking your opponent's objective is gone. A storm enemy outpost, whatever it is, deleted. I'm surprised they kept Defense Stronghold and got rid of that, though, because Defense Stronghold was, in my opinion, just such a nothing burger so often.
Yeah, you're right. Most of the time you just draw it and you're like, cool, there's 3 points. But I guess 3 points matters a lot more now than it does before because a lot of the secondaries are reduced in points.
That's true.
Good overwhelming force next. It is exactly the same. It is 3 VP for each unit you kill that's within range of an objective marker. It's still capped at 5. And when we have no prisoners right after that as well, and that is still also the same. It's 2 VP for every unit you kill up to 5. So those two are completely the same.
All right, to bring it down, when drawn, if there are no monsters or vehicle units on the battlefield, you can discard this card and draw another secondary. When this card is active, each time an enemy monster or vehicle unit is destroyed, you get 2 VP. And here's extra caveats, each of which will delineate another 2 VP. The total of the wounds characteristic of the models that in that unit that were destroyed were 15 plus at starting strength, 2 more VP. 20 plus at starting strength is 2 more VP. Note, the above VPs are cumulative, so destroying a monster or vehicle with a combined wounds characteristic of 20 wounds would award 6 VP. This is a fixed option. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a few things here that are a bit funky, right? So the first thing is, hey, my opponent's unit of killer cans that was 6 now is 1, and I draw this card and I kill 1 killer can and I get 6 points.
Yep.
It's a bit dumb.
Dang. Yeah.
Then it's like, cool, I shoot this unit of I don't know, what's it? I shoot this unit of battle suits and I kill it down to 1 model. I killed 2 vehicles. I get no points for that. I shoot a unit of Old One Eye and 2 Carnifexes and I kill a Carnifex. I get nothing for that.
Correct. And what happens is you shoot that unit of Paragons, get it down to 1 left, and that Paragon unit yeets itself back into the back lines of the Miracle Dice Advance, and you never get another shot. And there's 6 points gone begging.
Yeah, but then at the same time, right, it's like it's pretty bad, you know, and then you play against what, like knights, and, you know, every single big knight model you kill is 6 points. It's like, yeah, sure, it's good and it's bad. I think that I don't know, man. I've got real mixed thoughts on this one. I think it's bad for the game. I think it's good for vehicle heavy armies. I don't think it's good for the game though.
I feel like they just needed to delete unit. Every time a monster or vehicle unit is destroyed, they should have just left out unit, and then you'd still get at least those 2 points for killing a killer can.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
All right, extend battle lines. I believe exactly the same.
It is. That's correct.
Correct. Moving on. Cull the Horde. Tell us about this one, because we have some significant issues with what they've tried to do here.
Yeah. So this is just the same as now, but worse, right? So when you're no enemy unit on the battlefield that satisfy either of the below conditions, you can discard this card and draw a new one. While this card is active, each time an enemy infantry unit is destroyed, if either of the following are true, you score 5 points. So the starting strength of the unit was 20 plus, or the total wounds characteristics of the models in the unit was 25 plus at starting strength, and you ignore leader models for both of these conditions. So this is fixed. What they're trying to do here is to incentivize you to kill like 20-man units of boys, or
gargoyles, termagants,
yeah, that sort of
Gretchen,
thing, right? The big problem is that character attaching doesn't matter. So like you can have, you know, a 19 model unit, put a character in, it's 20, it doesn't count. All of these units are cheap. There's no 20 model unit of custodian guard going around where you really care about playing with one less model. So units of 11 to 19 boys plus a knob are 170 points. Units of 19 boys, including the knob, are 170 points. Are you telling me I can give up 1 boy out of each of my units and then never give the secondary up?
And be entirely immune to this. Yeah.
What do you think I'm going to do? I guess instead of 120 boys in my Green Tide, it's 114. Do you think I really care if I never give up any points on this secondary?
Correct.
I don't like this at all.
I think it's poorly worded, but only because of the mechanics of the game right now, where you pay the points for the 20 boys, but you can take 19. Doesn't matter, you know. And because that's a mechanic in the game, people will just play around this, and 120%. If I get a guard codex that incentivizes me to take big squads of guardsmen, you can't tell me I'm going to split hairs about taking 1 less guardsman in my squads to not get absolutely shellacked by a fixed objective.
Yeah, this really should have been 11 plus, honestly. Obviously, still excluding characters, really should have been 11 plus.
I'm a little bit less than you. I think it should have been 15.
What units can be 15? Like,
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's very awkward. It doesn't
11
punish.
plus covers you for every single unit that's more than 10 models.
Fair. That's fair. Do you feel like it should have the exclusion for leaders? I kind of feel like it shouldn't have the exclusion for leader characters. But then we have awkward things where you put like, here's 10 guys plus this character, that character. We're above 20 now somehow, and things are silly.
So it really needs to, right? Because you pick your secondaries before you do battle formation. So if your opponent picks the secondary, and then you have these 19-man boy units, and you say, oh, well, I guess the characters aren't attaching your secondary. You can't score anything for. I win the game. Like that's pretty toxic too, right? So
yeah, that's true.
This is a bad secondary overall. I think this is written badly. It's open to abuse. I know that WTC are already talking about FAQing it to be like 11 plus or something similar to that.
Yeah.
Or to say that you can't drop models out of units for this reason. But something would have to change to fix this, because I think right now it's not going to do a very good job of what it wants to do.
Yeah, the reason I was saying 15 is because for the same, so 15 is there are so few units that would be hampered by that. Like what is a 15 menu? It's 10 guardsmen plus a command squad, but then that has an attached character in it it's 14 plus a character. So there's so few things that would hit that breakpoint. And then if people like Orc players wanted to run 5 less boys, that's actually a hit. That's actually a hit to the army. That's like 20 less boys overall. And if they wanted to do that, I'd be happy for them if they want to play that level. They're actually playing with just less army, and that's fine. So that's where I thought 15. But I think 11, you're probably correct, is just cleaner.
That's all the secondaries, mate.
That is, mate.
Is secret missions.
Super secret stuff, the first of which is command insertion. So just to reiterate, at the start of turn 3, or is the end of turn 3?
It's the end of, it is after scoring primary. Sorry, no, it's the end of turn 3, isn't it? Now I'm forgetting. It's the end of turn 3, right?
End of turn 3. If you are down in primary points, starting with the defender, you can choose to play a secret mission. And this is one of the ones you can choose. So it happens at the end of the battle, of course. I think all of them do. Your warlord is within range of one or more objective markers in your opponent's deployment zone that you control. 20 points.
Oof.
Yep. We all know we can...
Magnus.
You can build that into an army, man. Like, Canis is sitting in my deployment zone, holding you off. Turn 4 moves out a little bit. Turn 5 full yeet. I don't know what you're going to be putting on an objective that's going to stop a full Canis shooting, charging, fighting on a home objective.
Knights of Shade Rampager. What's up? Yeah. So this can be built to be done, I believe. There are a lot of very quick, a Canoness with jump pack now with a 6-inch advance in the advance and charge detachment. LOL, 18 declare Miracle Dice charge. Congrats, 20 points. Like there is a lot of characters people can build into their armies that are very good at this. So Hypercrypt, 3-inch deep strike, 20. So wait, your warlord is within range of the objective marker. So if your warlord attaches to 20 Necron warriors, yeah, man, 100%.
3-inch deep strike, lol, 20 points. So this is the one I think we had the biggest problems with, right?
So this one and which one is it? Unbroken Wall is the one I've got a big problem with. But
read that one out now.
So Unbroken Wall is at the end of the battle. You control 3 or more objective markers that aren't in your deployment zone.
Lol.
So what you're telling me that I get to do what I was going to do anyway?
Yeah, for 20 points. In a game that I was losing.
You're telling me, Adam, in Take and Hold, I can score 5 primary up until the last turn, and then I can hold 3 objectives at the end of the game, and I can get 40 primary.
Yep.
Yep. How fun and interactive.
Yeah, I know. I can sit and do nothing for 2 hours and then just scattershot my army across the table and, get a 40 primary. Those are the two that I have problems with. These other two, not too bad. Next one is Shatter Cohesion. It's at the end of the battle, of course, like they all are. If there are no units from your opponent's army on the battlefield. I actually really like this one. Or every unit from your opponent's army that is on the battlefield meets one or more of the following conditions. They're battle shocked, they're below half strength, or that unit is more than 3 away from all objective markers. So you kill them off all objective markers, kill every unit below half strength, or battle shock them, or table them. So this is the one you pick when someone's put you in jail I had this game. I had this game against a lovely gentleman at ANZTC where he put me in jail with Tyranid's Vanguard. I freaking annihilated his whole army and didn't manage to get out of my deployment zone until turn 4. And in that case, I definitely would have played this card because I was very close to tabling him. And I could definitely have tried to play for that, I guess, if I knew I was playing this card. And so, you've been put in jail, but your opponent's like just having to throw their army away to do it. Well, you take this card and maybe you don't win, but damn, you get a whole lot more points than you would have gotten.
Yeah, this one's not even that hard. Like,
well, you got to table them for the first caveat. The second caveat's actually quite difficult. Below half strength, if they're hiding very well on objectives, you got to take them below half strength and remove them, or remove them from the objective, or battle shock them. So it's not super easy if your opponent knows it's coming, and if
they don't know, Adam, because you secretly pick this card. So they're there trying to stop you from getting onto like their home or getting onto the middle. So they're putting their unit in the middle. So they're like putting their stuff out in front of you for you to go and kill. I don't think this is actually that hard.
I actually, now that you're saying that, why would you take this one in that situation I just described, where someone's flooding you with nonsense just to keep you from the table, and turn 4 or turn 5, you know you're going to break out because they're going to be near tabled. Why would you take that one with all the extra caveats when you could just hold 3 objectives and get 20 points? Yeah, why would you do that? You would not do that to yourself unless you just 100% know you're going to table them and there's nothing to do about it. Just go hold 3 objectives and get the same points. Yeah, sorry, stupid. I like it though, but it's completely invalidated by Unbroken Wall. Completely invalidated. Yeah. On the scenario I was pitching, at least.
Yeah, no, it's like there's probably situations where that is better, but again, I don't think it's that hard. Like,
I don't think it's that hard either.
If you're going second, like the real caveat is if you're going second, because if you're going first, these are not easy.
No,
but if you're going second, they're not hard. Like,
yeah.
Final one's War of Attrition. You need to get 1 or more battle line units from your army in your opponent's deployment zone, and then you need to either kill all your opponent's battle line, or every battle line unit from your opponent's army needs to be within their deployment zone. So kill all their battle line units that aren't in their deployment zone anymore. So out of their deployment zone.
Yeah.
This one is also pretty easy, depending on what your opponent has in their army.
Yeah.
Probably not going to pick it against Chaos Knights.
100%. As Chaos Knights, you'd love to pick this one, though.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This is super easy.
They're all kind of easy if you go second. They actually are. They're all kind of easy if you go second.
And this is our problems with them, I guess, because the gambits were insanely hard and mostly undoable, even by absolute savants of the game. They were just so bad that people just didn't bother trying them. These ones, I think, are the other way. They're actually relatively straightforward. For the amount of complexity that we're playing in the game at the moment and that we're used to in competitive 40K, these are all very straightforward.
Yeah, look, this kind of sucks, right? I actually think it might become meta in really high-level games if you're going first to not score primary just so your opponent can't gambit.
Can't get it. Yeah,
I actually think it might become meta to intentionally not score primary early on, so your opponent doesn't get 23 points.
Yeah, I agree,
and I don't like that at all. Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Feels rough. Feels real rough, and it might also become meta to if you are, let's say, in a losing matchup, just not even try to play the game. To just be like, I know I'm going down. Why should I bother trying to win when I can just play for 23 points? And that's also my issue as well. It's incentivizing less effort. Is I think where I'm at with it.
Yeah, not a big fan of these, to be honest. Everything else I really like. Not a fan of the secret missions at all.
Well, perfectly said, mate. Because that brings us to the end. That's us. We've done the whole mission pack. In closing, apart from the secret missions, I think the rest of it's actually really freaking good. I like it a lot. There's one deployment I don't like. Apart from that, the rest are very tolerable, probably very enjoyable. The only actual primary mission I don't like is the fact that Servo Skulls is still in. I don't love the ritual, but I'll deal with it. The new terms and conditions of the ritual make it a lot more palatable. The 12 inches away rather than 9. And apart from that, I like virtually all the secondaries, except for I think the one that we pointed out as a couple we pointed out as being maybe problematic, but I think you've actually talked me down quite well off those. But mate, what are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, I tend to agree, man. I think most of this is really good. I think I'm really excited to see what GW and WTC pick for their like match play mission pack. for us to use out of these special missions and special rules. Sorry, as what we're going to do. I don't like the secret missions though. Like
I'd be very happy to just have the secret missions and not play at top level. But we will see. Maybe that is Doom's saying. We will need to see. I think that is too harsh a thing to say this early. But in a couple of months, maybe they're not a thing that's played in every event. But we would need months and months of data before we made something like that. But as a mechanic, I don't love how easy they are. All right, my man, that is going to be us done. Out of 10, how happy are you with this pack compared to the last one?
Probably like an 8, man. Again, I don't like the secret missions at all, but I think everything else is pretty much an improvement. Pretty happy overall. But definitely no secret missions in there. I'd be saying close to 10, but yeah, they let it down a bit, I think.
It's totally fine. I'm exactly along with you. I don't think I'm as 100% as down on the secret missions as you, because I don't know if they're going to convert losses into wins as much. What I see them as doing is enabling people who are not winning to accept not winning in order to get closer than trying to win, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, it's like a consolation prize. All right, my man, let us close this one out. Hopefully you guys will come over and join us over on part 2. My voice is hanging in there quite nicely, apart from that absolute brain fart halfway through this. I think we did quite well. Thank you so much to all the patrons. Thank you for your patience with this episode as well. I know it's coming out much later than you guys would expect. Episode 200 will be coming up as well. I was hoping to have a bunch of things revamped for like a little baby relaunched episode 200. We'll see how much of that I'm able to get done through this sickness. But my man, thank you so much. Come and join us over in part 2 and Soli, say your goodbyes.
See you over there, guys. Looking forward to talking to the rest of you about questions and bits and pieces and all the good stuff over on part 2.
Thank you for listening to Art of War Down Under, a content review podcast for Warhammer 40K. Hosted by Adam Camilleri. Produced by Seamus Ronan. Enjoyed the show? Want your lists reviewed and the content you heard put into practice? Sign up to our Patreon and connect with us online or on Facebook. Just search for Art of War Down Under. Signing out from tomorrow.